everybody, to this episode of Association Rockstars, where we hear about the journey and insights of amazing association executives and partners who are building the association industry of tomorrow. If you have not met me yet, I'm super excited to meet you all. I'm Amy Hager. I am the logistics and everything behind the curtains person here at Association Rockstars. And with me today is our famous host, Dr. Lowell Aplebaum, FASAE, CAE, and CPF. Lowell, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's weird to be on this side of the table, but a pleasure to be.
I'm really actually loving this. For all of you who have followed us on Association Rockstars, thank you so much for your years of watching our live interviews, reading our articles, listening to the podcast, going to the YouTube channel. We really want to make sure we're touching you where you're at. And it has taken me the whole 3 years to convince Lowell that it is time to flip the table and interview him. And so just as we kick off every episode, Lowell, I really want to hear, what do you feel your superpower is when it comes to your work in the association and nonprofit space?
If you asked my children, they would say dad jokes. But I would say outside of using those as a way to get a conversation going, I think it's curiosity. For all intents and purposes, if you bring curiosity to the table, you're inherently going to be in a place of willing to learn and open to new ideas. In the role that I play as a facilitator, it means you're setting the stage for possibility and discovery. You bring with it humility because curiosity means that there are things you don't know. And so you want to know more. And inherent to curiosity is relationship building. We inherently feel a deeper connection with those who are interested in our experience, our insights, our knowledge, our perspective. And so I think the amalgamation of all of that is that for me, as someone who has been an association executive, is now an association partner, but feels part of the nonprofit community, someone who tries to, through service, create the opportunity for many voices to contribute with their passions and strengths, that in all of these ways, curiosity has served me well to elevate the voice of others and to bring forward a collective greater knowledge and insight that has allowed many things to move forward and succeed.
And I think that larger collective is something that I've always been impressed by your view on the world, on the association space, and what you really bring to the community. And that was, I think that was recently recognized. ASE announced that you are awarded the Academy of Leaders for this year, and you're the 37th person to ever receive this award. And this award is given to consultants or industry providers who demonstrate support of ASAE and the entire association community going above and beyond. And, why is that larger collaborative, that larger community so deeply ingrained and important to you?
Well, I'd say from a personal standpoint, I was raised from a place that you function from a heart and a dedication to service, and that we all bring to the table, bear the brunt of responsibility of building a better world. There's nothing more important to me than my three littles, these guys, right? And so every day, the work that I do has to be tied to building a world that I want them to inherit. So I think that's part of it. I have a deep set belief that nonprofits in general and 501c3 and C6s in specific have a unique and critical role to play in creating that better world. And although there's different classification of the titles of what we do, I worked inside associations for 12 years, and working now as someone who partners with associations to help them think about leadership and governance and strategy. At least the way I feel about it is that the only difference is that instead of like diving deep into one, I am able to help many.
Yeah.
And I find that to be work that is service driven as well. Ultimately, if you care about an organization, you care about their mission, you want to see it advance. It doesn't mean you don't need to make a living to support, of course, your family and your life. But ideally, that is a service driven mindset, a service driven effort. And I think that in where I volunteer, how I function, the work that I do, what I try to bring to the community, is a place of service.
So then talk to me a little bit more about, Association Rockstars specifically and that place of service and why, what is the role of rock stars and how do you think it really helps highlight leadership in the association, the nonprofit space, the chamber space? I mean, we've interviewed over 60 people over the last few years. Why is this so important and what is the impact that you see in the community?
I think that any time that you are lucky enough or blessed enough to have found and continue to find a community that accepts you and allows you to do good work and elevates you, that comes with both gratitude and obligation,
Mm,
right? And first, as a white cis male, right, I think that there's an inherent greater platform that comes with that, whether or not there should be, but to create equitable space for many voices to be highlighted and elevated.
yeah.
And in our industry as a whole, there are moments that we recognize the good work associations do. There are few moments where we recognize those that are doing the good work. And there's only a handful that are going to get to be on the board of directors of ASAE someday. There's only a handful that will get to participate in DELP. Like these places of individual recognition are critical and meaningful, but also
Mhm,
limited for the vast number of amazing leaders that we have in our community. I
yeah.
inherently believe that we aspire to that which we see recognized. And so the more that we can give accolade to those who are deserving of it, but who may fly under the radar of those top tier opportunities,
Mhm.
better we all are. And so the point of rock stars is to take it away from being about the association and make it about those leaders in our field whose voices and stories and perspectives and narratives have the potential to elevate us all if we just had a greater insight, a deeper knowledge of their journey, right? Their story, what they see, what the world they're trying to build. And hopefully we feel an echo of that and something we can aspire to as well.
And so then when we kind of again turn this table and talk about your journey and your growth and I think your amazing superpower of being this great facilitator to really meet the organizations, the board, the staff where they're at, help them feel comfortable and confident in the conversations that they're having and really be present in setting those positive intentions of how that organization is going to move forward. you know, that takes practice and years of learning and doing. And so now that you are, 6 years, right? Owner of Vista Cova plus the
Eight,
12 years prior,
eight,
8?
eight
God, I'm bad
years.
at math. This is why I don't do math. 8 years. So I mean, we're 20 years into this, Lowell.
Yep.
Why how did you become such a great facilitator? Take us kind of through that journey and maybe some of the highlights of what has really helped amplify, I think, this intuitive thing that you have
Yeah.
in you.
I think I'd say a few things in response to that. I appreciate the recognition that you feel I'm a great facilitator. I mean, I do think it's a skill set I try to bring at excellence. And I think those that do so should always be in a mindset that there's always better you can become, right?
Mhm.
And so I'd say part of the journey to the expertise I have in facilitation is because I've never felt like I'm done. Like there's no end of learning how to do it.
Yeah.
There's always a new technique, a new tool, a new perspective to consider and to use. And so if you adopt that, and that's probably not just true about facilitation, right? That's true in almost any professional pursuit. You're going
Yeah,
to
exactly.
become better every day because you're seeking to be. Uh, I think that as well, if you were to meet a much younger Lowell, you would have met someone whose attitude and mindset from decades ago was one of facilitation.
Yeah.
I learned early on, I have an inherent deep care of people, of causes, of mission. I care deeply. And caring deeply, right, means that you want to be able to understand and support and elevate and champion. And I don't think I ever would have had those words in my youth, but I think I evidenced them in the relationships I formed with peers, with taking care of those younger with me, with adults, right? I related to adults earlier. I mean,
Right.
like it was a place of equitable relationship building. So by the time my own professional journey came about, my first association job with the American Institute of Chemical Engineers was getting more student members for their program, for their organization, and they had never spoken to students.
Hmm.
So, like, the main thing I did was to talk on the phone with the board of all 160 student chapters and go visit 80 to 90 of them a year. And I didn't
Yeah.
know what I was doing, but I knew if I went in and facilitate, and I wouldn't have used the word facilitate, right? If I went in and just like bought some pizza and had a conversation with the leaders, by the time you're 20, 30 into that, you hear themes, you can bring them, oh, the other chapter's doing this, the other chapter's doing this. What are you
Yeah.
doing? What problems are you facing? How can we? I was facilitating. I didn't know
Hmm.
it at the time, right? But if you're curious and you want to share wisdom and you do it from a place of humble leadership, right? That's not that I am ever the smartest person in the room. It's that what I can bring to the table is a safe space for the sharing of wisdom. And sure, I can bring the experience of what I've seen, right? But that is a place of refinement and nuance and doing it over and over and over again to learn how to set the table, how to ask the right questions.
Hmm.
And so, if I think every meeting is better if there's a facilitator
Yeah.
because there's someone who could be interested in everyone's perspectives and try to balance the room between having space for all of them. And I
Hmm.
think the way to go about that is through practice, right? To set intention before, be clear on what you're trying to achieve, know what methodologies you want to try to incorporate, best understand the audience, share with them so they're on a partner in your journey of trying to achieve it. At the end, check in of how far we got, what is supposed to be next. Right? If you use that as sort of an even flow, there's lots
Yeah.
of other pieces. Rinse, repeat 10, 20, 100, 1,000 times. At some point, some parts of it you're going to get good at. And points, some parts of it you're going to need to continue to get good at. But that's my unscientific approach to becoming better at facilitation.
So then, just reflecting on where you're at right now, where do you feel like you need to get better at? I mean, you just got your PhD. Again, you're a lifelong learner. Where are you focusing on learning next?
The I'd say that the first few years of being in this realm of instead of helping one organization, helping many, been about trying to find the specific spaces where a facilitation application would best fit, right? And
Mhm.
so a lot of the work I do and that Vista COVID does has been in these specific spaces like strategy and governance and board reviews and board training and places that I love and I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
The place I want to focus on for the coming years is, and I think as you get older, this is true of everyone, right? Like you look ahead to the horizon and you're like, I'm not at the end, right? But I'm closer to the end of professional journey than the beginning potentially. Can't imagine
Mhm.
every day I'm not working, but it's there. Uh, are places of how do I frame effort that we can provide to to organizations, but also the profession in a way
Mhm.
that has a greater potential for exponent,
Mhm.
right? Individual organizational impact is incredibly important. And no matter how big anyone's company, that's still increment, right? Like how many organizations can you work with in a year?
Mhm.
So where is there potential if you're truly trying to run a firm or a business that's trying to support an entire profession,
Yeah.
right? What can you learn from those incremental opportunities of helping individual organizations succeed, thrive, and grow, and take from them models of exponent that can serve the profession as a whole. So whether or not they ever actually engage me as a facilitator, we've been able to contribute something that goes beyond the
Mhm.
individual time that I could spend, but could shift the trajectory, the potential, the structure, the meaning of what any nonprofit organization is trying to create. And in terms of what I want to learn, what I want to grow is how do we create more potential for exponent?
Hmm. I really like that. And I think tying back to your theme of curiosity, Do you think as we continue to grow and change and have these experiences, do you think as an expert, your expertise tends to grow and shift with you? And today you could say you're an expert in this, but maybe 5 to 10 years, you realize you're actually an expert in this?
Uh, I don't think expert's a permanent title,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's potential that depending on the technology that emerges, on the shifts with generational preference, that somebody who was an expert in one thing may be a novice in what actually is needed for the next part.
Mm,
And so I think I'm not going to agree with the premise of permanent expertise.
yep.
I think that there's a need right now, and this is actually a great opportunity for associations to rethink about how we gain expertise and how we help people gain it. And this is something that I've been trying. I mean, you mentioned you finished my doctorate at the end of last year, which yay and good, it's done. Right? This year for me has been a place of like, all right, so that was a multi-year commitment to a significant piece of learning and accomplishment.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, in the world we live in today, it's no longer sufficient to say, I'm going to dive deeply into a single acquisition of a piece of knowledge. And that skill set's now going to serve me for the next 20, 30, 40 years. We
So
live
true.
in a time, right, of rapid skill acquisition, use it, and then learn the next one, learn the next one, learn the next one. And, that's something that's been in my own learning journey the past 6 months has been this like, how do I consume new knowledge and create new models in a more rapid fashion, which still needs to have refinement, quality, rigor, and love in it,
Yeah.
right? It can't take 3 years to emerge.
Mm, so true. So true. Well, as we wrap up our time together today, I think you've alluded to a little bit of this as we've gone through our conversation, but I love when we can laser focus on a question. And so I want to ask you, what legacy do you want to leave behind in this world?
Uh, it's not a legacy I need to see, but the life philosophy piece of this that I try to visualize so that with every effort I make, it's about if you think of a pond or a lake or the ocean, right? The initial effort you make every time is the splash, but the impact is the ripples.
Mm,
And the truth is, like, the ripples stretch out, right? And you don't necessarily see how far they go.
right.
And so I guess the legacy I want to leave behind isn't the splash of what I was able to do in my time, but it's that there's enough ripples that they last long, long after the
Mhm.
splash I was able to make.
I love that. And I think you're very well on your way of doing that. So thank you so much for letting me interview you and finally agreeing to this.
Fun to be on this side of the table. I look forward to next time being on the other.
I was say, I'm sure you're super excited to be back in your seat. And don't worry, Lowell is coming back, and we have another guest coming up next month. But until then, I just want to remind you all associations, rock on.